Hello and welcome back to the Anything Liverpool YouTube channel, or if you are watching us on Twitter as well. My name's Charlie. Today, joined by three lovely gentlemen. Dylan, I'll start with you, mate. How you doing today?
Yeah, not bad, mate, Charlie. Nice to see you lads as well. Nice to meet you a couple of you in the first
Nice to
time
see
for
you.
being together.
Yeah, definitely. Dech as well, mate. How are we
I'm
doing
I'm
today?
doing good. Been in work today, mate. But yeah, I'm glad to be on stream. I haven't been on for a couple, so it's nice to be back on. But yeah, I'm doing great, Charlie. Hope you're doing all right as well, lad.
Yeah, I'm doing good, and obviously Reeve as well, mate. International break, not much going on. But how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Nice to meet you guys. Looking forward to bringing a bit of positivity and a bit of the international dump.
Yeah, well, I'm known as being negative, so I might need it. But unfortunately, it's international break. This is the time of year where all the stats come out, slamming players, or random debates about, trivial topics that no one really cares about. So before we get into them random trivial topics, let's just go straight for the big news, or not really big news. It's about Antoine Semenyo, Gareth Crooks of Talksport, who, bear in mind, there's Talksport, but Alex Crooks is definitely probably the most reliable journalist there. He's very well linked up on South Coast teams, especially Bournemouth, and I believe he used to actually cover Bournemouth solely, so he's got a lot of connections to Richard Hughes, apparently. He has said that Richard Hughes is a massive fan of Antoine Semenyo, who, of course, Dylan, is absolutely firing this year. I was one of the people who wasn't so much against signing him, but when you looked at his numbers last year, on the surface of it, it was, I'd say, worrying. I believe him and Embuemo were, sorry, not him. I'm thinking of another stat. He took the most shots in the Premier League, I believe, last year. He was definitely one or two with Salah, and I believe his conversion rate was one goal every 15 shots or something absolutely ridiculous. He was just shooting from everywhere, and it wasn't working for him. New season, new man. Those shots are now working for him, Dylan. My only issue is going to be the price, because we've just spent 19 million euros on Ekitike. We've just spent 100 and whatever it was, 20 million pounds on Alexander Isak. We didn't replace Luis Diaz. Could Semenyo be that person, or is it just out the question?
Well, I think it's probably just a natural topic that's coming up based on, like you said, he's been ripping up at the start of the season in terms of numbers. And then when you look at potentially people going on about Salah with his numbers dropping off at the start of the season, it's kind of a natural thing that people go, oh, maybe he could be the natural replacement to kind of jump in. But I'm with you. I don't see it as that kind of natural almost step into our team in terms of the way he would play in his numbers. And like you said, Richard Hughes obviously is going to like him. I think he signed him from Bristol City to Bournemouth at the time when they first signed him in the first place. So there is going to be that relationship that's naturally there between them. But I would also think he's under contract for a few years. It's going to be probably a hefty 70, 80 odd million to probably pull him out of Bournemouth. Is he going to be worth those kind of numbers? If he carries on with the kind of goals and assists he's been getting this season, then it could be worth a question. But I think in terms of the way we play, we'll have more possession than Bournemouth will have. We'll have kind of more control of games than they would have. So will he naturally kind of fit into that? I don't really know in terms of that. But yes, I think it's just kind of a natural topic that comes up based on circumstance with him having strong numbers this season and Salah not. So people are kind of going, oh, is he the next option?
Yeah, I mean, he's got
Yeah.
in 7 games, he's got 6 goals, 3 assists. He's scoring some bangers as well. One against can't remember who they played, but where he was basically on the touchline and squeezed it in.
Yeah.
I think even last year people were impressed with him. He's a very good runner. He's very strong. He's good in the air. He plays across the front three, which we know Liverpool like in general. He does strike me as a very, I don't want to put him in like a category, but he reminds me a bit of Sadio Mane, but
I was gonna say.
a bit bigger, a bit stronger, a bit more physical. Obviously, Mane was very physical, but Semenyo just seems bigger. The main issue for me is because he didn't get a move last summer, he's signed a contract extension,
Right.
2 months ago. So he's now under contract until 2030. And in today's market and how he's performing, obviously Bournemouth let a lot of players go under, gentleman agreement. So unless they have a gentleman's agreement or a release clause in this Semenyo contract, I just don't see how any club signs him for less than 80 million, especially in today's market. Which the fact that that's a fee that we're talking about from a player from Bournemouth, like I personally can't justify spending. I don't think he is that big of a game changer for us that you can justify £80 million on him.
No, I agree. I was going to say, just to touch back on the goals and his form at the moment. He scored 2 against us the opening day of the season. So, that's at Anfield. So, he is a fantastic forward. And I think what you're saying about the justification of 80 million or so, let's just say we're talking hypothetical figures here. Of course, we don't know the true market value. With the contract extension, say we get into 2028, for example, you're looking, I was going to say 100 million. I think 80 million is being generous. And you say 100 million, like you said, from Bournemouth and stuff like that. But I think it's just the nature of football now. It's the market. We look at the summer window we've just had, the price that some players have gone for and clubs have bought players for. But it's not just a recent thing, especially if we're talking for him as a player, as an asset in a few years' time as well. Let's not forget, Man City bought Jack Grealish for £100 million, and that was a good few years ago. So the market it's all over the place. It's how much you value that player and whether he is going to be an asset to bring into the football club. And Liverpool and Bournemouth have got that connection. If it's me personally, I would have him at the football club. I don't really think that we have fully replaced Luis Diaz. As bad as that is to say, I love Cody Gakpo and the forwards that we brought in, and you can't sit here and moan and say you want more. But why not? Why not? I don't know. I wouldn't. It'd be surprising for me to see Liverpool fans turn and say that they don't want him to come in a few years' time. Let's just say.
Yeah, I mean, Reeve, another issue I kind of see is he is predominantly left-sided. We have so many left-sided players or players who can play on the left side. Ekitike can play there if needed. Isaac is self-admittedly likes to go on the left. You've got Florian Wirtz who also goes towards the left. We've got Cody Gakpo who plays on the left. And not to mention as well, Rio Engamoa. That's 6 of our forwards that are predominantly, they play off the left-hand side, either on the wing, in midfield, or in attack, and Mohamed Salah's, we'll talk about him later, but there's questions about him even remaining after this season. And if Semenyo is your guy, I would rather spend 100 million or whatever the price is going to be on somebody who can replace Mohamed Salah, like a Michael Elise or somebody.
Yeah.
I just, for the price in the market, I think there's a couple of good things about Semenyo. Obviously, he can play in multiple positions. He is also homegrown. He's been, in England since youth, I believe. So he's homegrown. But another downside is he plays for the Ghana national team, and AFCON's still every 2 years. So I don't know about you, Reef, but for me, the negatives with everything, the price, AFCON, kind of his history of having a lot of shots and not scoring as many goals, I just don't think you can risk 80 or 100 million pounds on that personally.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, Charlie. I know I kind of agree with Dec. If we did sign him, of course, it's adding quality to the front line, and adding quality from the Premier League as well. It's good Premier League proven players, bringing them into the squad. That's always a good thing. But I do agree with what you're saying with the left hand side, especially for me. I think one of the reasons we didn't sign a left winger this summer has just gone was with blocking the pathway for Rio Engamoa. I don't see the point in signing a player, especially in that specific position, who's heavily left-sided. When you've already got a prime player in the mid-20s in Cody Gakpo, and you've got a player coming up through the ranks who can do that bit part. And obviously Ekitike can play there, Isaac can fill in there, Wirtz, we've seen him play there as well. So it's one of them things, and I agree with you, Charlie, I'd definitely rather spend that type of money on an Elise, on someone who can step into the Salah role, who's at a better... See, the age profile is probably the right age profile that we're looking for there, but it's just, we've got to prioritise where it's going to strengthen our squad. I think Semenyo comes in, but he's not, no disrespect to him, he's not world class, you know? How many levels above Federico Chiesa is he? Like, he might be better than Chiesa at the moment, but how many levels above is he? And is he 60, 70, 80 million levels above Federico Chiesa? You know what I mean? We signed Chiesa for 10, 12 and a half mil. So you've got to look at it that way. And I just think we've got to be smarter on recruiting. And to be honest, I think this link's just come fact. It's international break. It's Bournemouth. It's Liverpool. It's Richard Hughes. So that's where I think that's come from. I'm not saying Semenyo, I wouldn't be happy to have him, or he's not a quality player. He's tearing up the league right now. But I think it's just kind of one of them international break links. Liverpool, Bournemouth, Richard Hughes. Right, let's whack that together and see what we get.
Yeah, I think that's going to be probably why Richard Hughes is our sporting director and Bournemouth are doing well. You know, I mean, look, you've seen people with saying sign Areola with the whole slot thing, so it's not going anywhere. But kind of just sticking on the left wing subject, Dylan, something I think is a really interesting kind of discussion and something I was very for when the transfer window happened. I don't think we actually replaced Luis Diaz, and I think heading into the season could potentially be one of the more detrimental things that we do in terms of the squad depth. Yes, we have, as we've mentioned, and as Slot mentioned, we have a lot of players who can play there. Being a left winger, an actual winger, and being able to play there is a lot different, and we've saw that this season, because there's a reason why Jurgen Klopp tried different positions with Cody Gakpo. There's a reason why Cody Gakpo has to have an attack kind of catered towards him a little bit, because his deficiencies in which it's crazy to think, because he's such a powerful runner, he's very fast, but when you watch Cody Gakpo, you do see why maybe he isn't on an elite level. I don't know about you, Dylan, but do you think not replacing Diaz and buying maybe something a bit different? Because look, we can all admit what's Cody Gakpo doing when he's on the left hand side. 99 times out of 100, he's got one thing on his mind, and it's cutting into the right and shooting. You know, that's not hard to defend. Whereas Dylan Luis Diaz, I mean, how many times did you never know where he was going? Was he trying to beat you? Was he trying to go inside? Was he, you know, there's so many different options. And I felt at the time, I thought Rodrigo was just an easy option to bring in. The club clearly felt against it. I thought it was the wrong decision. But with this link, do you think maybe they are seeing, you know, okay, maybe we do need something else there?
Yeah, it could be part of the reason, potentially, because I was going to see him go, to be honest with you, because like same as you were just saying there, where they've got kind of different qualities to each other. I think having that kind of option where you have got somebody who is going to be, like you say, slightly more obvious in terms of, you know what you're going to get with Gakpo. He's going to try and use the person as an overlap, but step inside and try and shoot for that far corner like he does quite often. You need somebody who is going to be that kind of dynamic person sometimes as well. So I think, like you said about having Rio and Gamoa, he can be that, but he's a bit raw, isn't he? He's still young. He's that kind of raw potential there, but you're not going to see it week in, week out. And I thought when we kind of were keeping Chiesa, in terms of when we let Diaz go, I thought that's kind of what the plan could potentially be, that is. But then he's been in and out of the team even when he's been doing well again. So it kind of goes, was that potentially what they were thinking? And that's now kind of changed. Is that why they're stepping towards somebody else as that option? It's hard to kind of say, isn't it? Because, like you say, when the Rodrigo stuff came out, I thought, yeah, that naturally makes sense. If we're going to go let Diaz go, then it's somebody who can naturally come in and do something fairly similar. Because even though he's good in those attacking roles, he also offered us so much as an engine as well. Getting back, I think that kind of got underplayed a little bit in terms of what he offers in that side of things as well. So I think not replacing that in terms of Gakpo, he will get back, but it's not in the same kind of intensity as Diaz, who's going to be on the press all the time in that sort of situation. And when you've seen Diaz go in and start well with Bayern as well, almost it adds another kind of kick to the teeth where you go, we could have potentially still had that this season. But it's one of them situations. I was good to see him go, but I thought the Chiesa situation would be he would kind of be that natural replacement if that's what they were thinking, if they could get him fully fit. But that hasn't really materialised even when he's played that well. So yeah, that could be where these stories have kind of come from.
I always thought personally that there was too much pressure on Rio, and whilst him scoring against Newcastle was amazing, I remember kind of saying to people, like, I think this could end up being a negative, in the way people perceive how he is going to be for Liverpool, because yes, he scored a great goal and, he won us the game, but you could tell that Slot did not want to bring him on in that game. He waited until essentially the last minute. If I'm remembering correctly, he didn't even play him in the Community Shield against Crystal Palace when, Gakpo was walking around the pitch for 90 minutes. So if he's not playing him in the Community Shield, the club are clearly protecting him, which is I'm completely fine with them protecting Rio Ngamoa. However, if you are protecting him, surely you need to sign a left winger.
Yeah.
And especially if you sign a left winger who can play on the right. And we've seen now. I understood the club's thinking because Jerry Frimpong is an attacking right fullback who essentially played in right midfield. However, you're asking him to deputise for Mohamed Salah, whilst also deputise being a right back. And whilst we needed a left winger, we also could have really done with a right winger. So it's like, I just don't see why that was never. Maybe it was, look, but it's all speculation at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But kind of to get on the point, I just think the pressure on Rio Ngamoa at this young of an age, I think it would have been smart from the club to keep Rio's development and also push Gakpo to sign a left winger.
Yeah. It's a lot, isn't it? I mean, it's all if buts and, should be have signed, could be have signed. The Rodrigo thing's interesting. I think, if we could have got him in, get him in. But again, we've had one of the best transfer windows, that I've ever probably seen sporting this football club or just in football in general. So you can't really, it's hard to say because you don't want to come across as being ungrateful. But I do get it. With Rio Ngamoa, I feel like he's 16. Yeah, he's hit the ground running. And I do think he's 17 now, isn't he? I do think we need to look after him a little bit. And I think the club and Richard Hughes, Arne Slot, and all the staff know more than anyone. They know a lot more than what we know today, and they know they'll always know a lot more than what we ever will. So I think he is fantastic, Rio Ngamoa, but he will be looked after. Obviously, Cody Gakpo just signed a new contract as well, so he's sticking around for a little bit. And we've got forwards who can play on the left, so maybe that's the thinking behind it by not bringing in a winger as such, because we've already mentioned Ekatike, Florian Wirtz. So there is options to play on the left, and maybe with Rio Ngamoa, with as we mentioned, not wanting to block that pathway for him, and with Cody Gakpo, obviously the club have probably known for a while that he wants to stay, and he's obviously signed that new deal and stuff. And obviously with the forwards that we brought in the summer, maybe the club that's the reason against it. But I agree with what you're saying. I think Rio does need to be sort of, as much as we all love him, he's already great, isn't he? He's already got fans all over the world, but I think we do need to look after him. And like I said, the club know better than anyone. But
I think you could tell as
we're
well.
Always going to want other people to come in, aren't we? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think against Southampton as well. Again, it's I don't want to come across like I'm criticizing them because I'm not. Like if it's any criticism, it's constructive criticism.
Do you think he should be on the bench every week though, as a 17-year-old kid?
I don't think so. I think he should be in the under-21 still personally.
Yeah.
I think he should be playing week in and week out and learning his craft, because at the Southampton game, every single time he had the ball, it's similar to Gakpo, but instead of trying to cut in and beat the player, he's
Yeah.
trying to take on the player.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who came on for him. I think it was Chiesa, actually. When Chiesa came on for him, he put 2 balls in the box straight away, and Ekitike got onto them. You know, there's times where yes, it's amazing when you beat somebody, but you're playing against Premier League defenders. You know, even your rubbish defenders are still better than 99.9% of the defenders in
Still
the
a
world.
Premier League defender, aren't
Exactly.
you?
You're not gonna beat everyone, and I think without Gakpo is playing, and that was foreseeable because that is how Gakpo plays. Gakpo and Luis Diaz as well were both purple patch players, and we got very lucky last year that their purple patches didn't really coincide. They kind of, Luis Diaz had an amazing start to the season, tapered off. Gakpo then kind of took over like around Christmas
Yeah.
time, had a great season. Then when he tapered off, Luis Diaz started coming back in around February, and it worked out. But now we're seeing, okay, Gakpo had a few couple of good games, and now what's he done? You know,
Yeah.
if you look at his, and I know Steve, he won't be watching, but Steve likes to bang on. Oh, he had 2 assists. Look at his assists. I could have made them assists. You know, he passed the ball off to Ekitike against Newcastle, and you know, Ekitike hit it in the bottom left corner. Like, yes, it's an assist on paper, but did he actually create anything? You know, no, not really. So it's, look, it's hard to kind of like criticize players when especially when they've done stuff, but it's like, you know, you're very one-dimensional. And like, Reeve, what's your kind of opinion on Gakpo? I know you said Chiesa. I think Chiesa has done more than enough to earn a start, and I think the way Arne Slot is treating him to a certain extent, maybe not treating the bad way, because obviously he watches them in training every day. However, all we have to go off is what happens on a football pitch. And what is happening on a football pitch is Federico Chiesa's coming on a football pitch and scoring every time. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Eden Hazard was one of the worst trainers known to man. You know, every single player who has worked with Eden Hazard said this fella did not try and train him. However, he touched a football pitch and he did stuff, and that's why he started. I just don't understand why Chiesa's not playing, but more on Gakpo. What's kind of your thoughts on him at the moment? Do you think he needs to improve?
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of a training out to get Gakpo at the moment, and I get it because we're the people who watch him week in, week out, and he is one of them players that you go, oh, he's so predictable, you know. But this is because we watch him every week, and there was times last season where the quality of what he was doing, he would be doing what we think he was going to do. He's so predictable, but it'll come off. So it's like I sort of look for last season where I can see Gakpo definitely has the capability to be Liverpool's starting left winger every week in, week out. But this season, as a lot of the team, he's not been at the races at all, if I'm being honest. And I also think he's trying things over and over and over again when nothing around him's actually changing. He's trying the same pass when the runs aren't changing. You know, he's trying to take on his man the same way, whereas like go inside and take him on the outside as well. You know what I mean? It's very one-dimensional, as you said, Charlie. But I think that's just a form issue. And I agree. Chiesa, like, I'm completely for the side of you earn your place, you earn your shirt. You know, Chiesa, every opportunity he's been given this season, he stepped up. Which is, it's funny because we all want him to as Liverpool fans, but he's actually showed his quality. And I was at that Southampton game, and I specifically saw that he looked a level above every single other player on the pitch. Not just in work rate, but in quality as well. You know, the sharpness in his passing. And this is when, I know Isaac's not fully fit, but this is when he was on the pitch. You know, he looked like an international footballer playing against a championship team. And it was quite refreshing. It's like, this is what we need. And then you expect him to go, right, Slot, you're going to give him a chance in the main team. And it's not kind of turned out that way. So it is a little bit disappointing, but I just think it's all about managing minutes. And as before, what you were saying about not signing a left winger, I think it's also to manage minutes of the players we've brought in. You know, when we're signing these players and we're bringing them in for 80 million for Ekitike, 100 million, You know, when we're offering these contracts, we're going, right, you're getting this amount of minutes, and not every game their minutes are going to be in their preferred position. So if we bring a left winger in, you know, we're taking minutes that might give minutes to Chiesa or might give minutes to Vert when we need to play someone else in midfield because we've got 4 or 5 midfielders who need to get minutes. It's all about managing the whole team, and having 5 senior forwards in a Premier League season campaign should be enough, regardless of what's their preference and size. Like if they're a right winger or a left winger, 5 senior players, especially at the price tag we're paying, should definitely be enough. I think that's what you said there, Charlie. It's like when we're expecting this level and Gakpo's not performing, that's when you want someone else to come in and take their shit.
Yeah, I would say Gakpo is the weakest link in that attacking line. Now, I think it's again a weak link. He's still a great player, but you know he is very clearly the one at the moment. So I think you look at the team and you think you can be improved on. But look, he's got a new contract. Slot clearly likes him, you know. So I guess he's here to stay. So we have to deal with more cutting on the right sides for a few more seasons. But hopefully,
if it goes top corner, I'm not bothered.
Yeah, if he can stop just hitting players and actually, like, you know, when Florian Wirtz is just standing there free as a bird and he's got 5 players running at him to close the ball down. But anyway, okay, really quickly, guys, if you are watching on Twitter or any other social media, make sure you do come over to our YouTube channel as well. I'll pull up some comments as well. But yeah, also subscribe, leave a like, bell notification. We've gone back to making some videos as well. So yeah, make sure you are subscribed. Okay, one topic I really didn't want to talk about, but I was struggling for topics, was our mate Trent Alexander-Arnold. Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard, he's had a few words to say on him, mainly on I think it was the Rio Ferdinand podcast.
Yeah.
If memory's serving me right. I've actually lost the link, but I'll do it off the top of my head while I found it. The main quote that I kind of spoke out to me was how he was saying with his Liverpool. Okay, I've got a quote here. Speaking without my Liverpool hat on, this is Steven Gerrard about Trent. Speaking without my Liverpool hat on, Real Madrid came in for me, so my head can turn. I understand it. It's best when he plays there. He wants to challenge himself. He's won everything in Liverpool, so there's a part of me that understands it. But as soon as I put my Liverpool hat back on, I think, what are you doing? You're arguably one of the best teams in Europe. You're winning things, and I sit here now and still dream about it. You're one of the main men. The fans adore you. What are you doing? But this is with my Liverpool hat on, because I love Liverpool Football Club. Now, Dylan, the last part of that for me, I loved, like where he says, because I love Liverpool. Yeah. I think that was a very, very, very nicely pushed shot without actually without calling him out as much, to basically say, I love Liverpool, Trent, you don't. Steven Gerrard, for me, there has summed it up to an absolute T. Nobody cares about Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving the football club. We understand why he has left to a certain extent. What kind of can't be forgiven in my eyes is how you've left and your reasons for leaving, because they don't make sense. Like, yeah. I thought that was a really good comment by Gerrard, Dylan. I don't know about you, but that come across to me as kind of the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, and obviously it's well documented about everything when it was Gerrard with the Chelsea stuff and the other teams that came in for him with Mourinho. We wanted him at Madrid as well when he was trying to get him there. I think, like you say, it sums it up perfectly, because we've waited for years and years and years to finally be the team that's back on top of everything again. And you've grown up with that. You've been in that situation. You've come through the club during that situation. And then to still go in the way that you did is kind of the thing that he's really trying to make sure that point's put across in the end of it. And I think that's an important point to put across, because fans of the other clubs can think whatever they want about the fact that what Liverpool fans think about how Trent left. But we know what the situation is. We know what it was like. So we've been through that situation, and so did he. He grew up in the club in those situations, and now you are getting that reward that Gerrard would have given anything for, to be the team that were winning the Premier League, that are competing for the Champions League every single season, and yet you still didn't want to be part of it, and you were left in the way that you did. So, yeah, I think it's a perfect kind of quote in terms of how it came across to me.
Yeah, I think as well, Dylan, Deck, sorry, he,
Yeah.
the fact he's a Scouser has made it worse, you
Yeah.
know. And I think obviously, you know, every Liverpool fan, you know, not even just a Scouser, you know, Harvey Elliott was a prime example as well. Harvey Elliott did not want to leave Liverpool. He left because he had to. Trent did not have to leave. He's a starting right back. And he has said multiple times on camera that Liverpool is his dream. All he wanted to do was play for Liverpool and win trophies. But you've now gone and changed that. And, you know, we talked a lot about Trent when
Yeah.
obviously he was leaving, and you know it got to a point where it was just like it was definitely happening, and I think everything was so toxic around it. You know, the club asking people not to boo, fans, you know, turning on themselves, and I still see, you know, like Scouse Liverpool fans say, you know, oh, I wish him the best. Man, I do not wish you the best. Every time you step on a football pitch, I hope the worst happens. Like it angers me still, like that he like like football's such an emotional thing, and I one of the things that annoyed me was people telling Liverpool fans how to feel,
Yeah.
like, and Rio Ferdinand was one of them people. He was
Yeah,
very
he
much
was.
like, oh, you know, let Trent go, or like, mate, you don't understand
Yeah.
it, you know. I don't even know, can't remember Rio Ferdinand's career, but you ended up at QPR, mate. No one cared about you in the end. So it's the fact that Liverpool fans were so angry shows how much they cared, and that for me should have been a massive indication to Trent to be like, listen, I'm so loved here.
Yeah.
Like, this is my city, this is my club. I grew up here. All I've ever dreamed about doing, you know. Look, Reeve and Decker and Dylan as well. You know, you grow up in the city, mate. You Liverpool's there. Did any of you dream about playing for fucking Real Madrid or
Well,
Barcelona? No, you might have had a Real Madrid or Barcelona kit, or you know,
yeah.
Juventus kit, but no, if you wanted to be a footballer, mate, Liverpool until the end. And
Yeah.
for me, that was the biggest thing. And I think, you know, what he's hit on there, Dex, it's spot on. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to touch on what you said about like the fact that he's a Scouser, makes it the fact that he's a Scouser is the sole narrative for me why we boo him, why there was so much toxicity. That is the key catalyst in all of this for me, because if he wasn't a Scouser, it'd be like something like with Harvey Elliott, because like what Dylan said before, he's grew up, he's come through the ranks, he's been part of stuff and things like that. Harvey Elliott's done that as well. Harvey Elliott's been at the club since a young age, and he left. He didn't want to leave, but he left, and people didn't really. It was sad, but it was like, okay, look, he's got to go. He's got to go and play football. Trent didn't have to leave because, like you said, he was a starting right back. But also Harvey Elliott and other players that leave the football club aren't Scousers. No matter how long you might have been at the club for, you're not from Liverpool. So for me, that's the whole reason why Steven Gerrard speaking on the matter it's actually like a bit of a breath of fresh air, because obviously I don't want to keep going over it about talking about Trent, but to see another Scouser talk about it, to see another Scouser who's from the city, who understands it, not someone just from the media who isn't a Scouser, or an ex-player who isn't a Scouser, or even ex-players and people who've played for the club, they won't get it. And the fact that Steven Gerrard's come out and spoke so well about it, and he is a Scouser, he's the first person that I've sort of been like, who I've seen mainstream, who's actually been like, do you know what, he's hit the nail on the head there. The fact that Trent is a Scouse, it makes the whole situation what it is. Because if he wasn't a Scouser, I don't think many people would even. It'd be like, oh God, look, he's going to Real Madrid. Not only that, I think him being Scouse is a big thing, but the way he left and the way it happened, the fact that he left for free, the whole situation around it was just handled so badly. But in being a Scouser, it just skyrocketed that, and people are going to have their opinions. And unfortunately, Trent, I hope when you do come back to Liverpool with Real Madrid, Kirk is absolutely just a 2 foot you off. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't wish him well. I don't, and it's sad to see, because I like Trent. Do you know what I mean? He was a great player for us, but I don't wish him well. You play for Real Madrid now. you know, while I wish you well, it's the whole like Real Madrid thing as well. I'm sorry to go on a bit, boys, but like like people say they're not rivals, they are rivals. Real Madrid are a massive rival. You know, it's just it couldn't have. It's like it couldn't have been any worse, really, could it? Do you know what I mean? Even if he went to Barcelona, it wouldn't be as bad as him going to Real Madrid. So
it's you fucked the club over. This was an open secret for
that's
3
it.
years.
That's it.
Mate,
That's
Paddy,
it.
I remember an interview of Paddy the Baddy about 2 years ago on his YouTube where he said that Trent's learning Spanish. This was before
I
most
heard about
things.
this.
This
Yeah.
came out years ago. Like it's been an open secret. It's been an open secret in Spain for years. It was and oh man, I hate the
When he
fact
was-
that I
know.
hate that this has been
Mate.
brought back up.
I know.
It
So
proper
do I. So do
boils
I.
me
It does
blood.
my head in. It does my head in.
The biggest, and I was at these games. You're kissing the badge, you're shushing, you're
wow.
doing that with your ear, and then you're telling people to shush. Guess what? You've been right all along. So you're doing that to fans, making
Even at the start of the season, all this celebration and all that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all this. What are you doing? Sounds like
I know.
do you know what I mean?
He does. I can't wait
Oh.
for the interview in 10 years when he comes out and says, "Oh, leaving Liverpool was the biggest mistake in my life."
Yeah.
You know,
No, it's
you know,
going to happen.
It's definitely gonna happen. But Reeve, I'll give you a quick thing on that because I feel like I could genuinely talk about this for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
But it's just so there's just so many factors that people don't understand, and it's not as simple as player moves to football club. Like there's
Yeah.
just there's so much, isn't there? And Gerrard is the perfect person to do it because he turned down nearly every top club in the world. So the fact he's spoken about it to Rio Ferdinand, who was such a big kind of defender of Trent.
Yeah.
I think it speaks volumes that, outside of the Liverpool sphere, no one's really picked up on this because they probably realise that actually Steven Gerrard makes sense here,
Yeah.
So it's, look, but it was a good interview from Stevie, and that's coming from someone, unpopular opinion. I'm not Gerrard's biggest fan. Like, he's a legend of the club, but I think kind of his personality and stuff, it never transpired with me. But this interview, I thought it made him look great, which is obviously a benefit for him, and made Trent look even worse.
Yeah, I think what he's done is perfect, to be honest, because he's said it. I see it from a professional standpoint, like a footballer, but you're a professional and you're a scouser as well. There's that thing coming in it, and as a professional, as a scouser, and us will know, it's like in our brain we can't compute it. Like if we were 8th in the league, you know what I mean? Like we get it. We've just won the Premier League. Like this, it's like we were back, and it's not like he's just going to somewhere else. He's going to our biggest rivals in Europe, and it's literally infactual that they've been our biggest rivals in Europe over the last 5-10 years. You know what I mean? Since our come up, so it's really hard to take, and it's like he's left in the prime of his career. It's not like, if he was at Liverpool and he was like 13, he was like, still has a couple more good years in, but he decided, I want to try something different at the end of his career. You get it. You know what I mean? At a time when we could have got, he was £100 million player. Let's not get it twisted.
And the rest, and the rest.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? We're saying
Yeah.
75 million for Semenyo. He was a great player. But Trent Alexander-Arnold's been at the top of his game for 7 years, generational talent. And
Do you think best right back in the world? Best right back in the world?
Yeah, my opinion's not going to change on that just because he's left. You know what I mean? And the thing was, at the time when he was leaving, it was really difficult for me because I was in the camp, he's still wearing a red shirt when we didn't know as well. When we didn't know, we knew, but we didn't know. In my opinion, I was like, he's still in a red shirt. So my brain was going, right, I'm not booing him. But then I didn't tell person next to me who was booing, fuck off. You know what I mean? You can't boo. Because it was like, listen, you can express your opinion, and now he's left. When he comes back in that white shirt, Anfield's going to be a hellhole. Like I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, I was about to bring that comment up. What do you expect from the crowd when he arrives back with Madrid? I don't think he will come back. I think even if he is fit for that game, which that will be the week he returns if he was to return. I don't think he'll play, and I especially do not think he will play off the bench. because that will give him, that'll be more spotlight than him, just coming on. But
Yeah.
I think he has to be booed. I do.
He will
he's
be.
retaining in the
He will
rival
be.
shit. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what? Luis Suarez, it's happened to him. You know what I
He's
mean?
my favourite
It doesn't-
Liverpool player of all time.
Exactly.
He got booed. Mate, you're
It
in a
doesn't
rival
matter.
in a big game. You're getting booed. It just is
Exactly.
what it is.
It's part of building an atmosphere, it's part of intimidating the opponent. Regardless of the past, if you're going to affect us on the pitch, you're our enemy, just for that night. But not just that night now.
No,
yeah, that's
game over for him, lad. It's game over for him, lad.
That is the difference between the likes of him and Luis Suarez.
Exactly.
Luis Suarez will be respected as, you know, I would class him as a legend, you know.
I love Luis Suarez, you know, lad.
Yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold, by all legend status, you know, trophies won, games played, he might be under there, but he will be under the Michael Owen category, and he will never, he could say anything. He could get God himself to come down and say, oh, you know, forgive him. No, mate. I do not care. He'll never ever get my respect again the way he not just treated the club, but the Liverpool fan base as a whole. And the cup in the year and the shush and that did it for me.
Yeah, that's
taking
mental.
The shirts off and all that.
Yeah.
Hanging the shirts on the corner flag. It's fucking criminal. It's absolutely criminal.
I thought he would say that to that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I know, so did I.
I was so deluded.
His brother as well. He should never be left back in Liverpool. That Tyler Alexander-Arnold, the big absolute lemon.
Isn't he Andy Robertson's agent?
Yeah, we should. And who else? Is he? He's a few players' agents. He's got his hand in all the pies. I wouldn't be being represented by him. But let's move on because we could talk about
it. Fucking Trent.
Okay. Again, guys, if you are watching on Twitter, make sure you come over to the YouTube channel. Anything Liverpool. It's also in the comment on like the first comment. So click that, get your comments, and we will bring them up through the show. One kind of thing I saw from David Ornstein was that Liverpool might not be interested in a centre back. Obviously, the whole Mark Gahey thing happened, and now every single club in the world wants him because he's free, which makes sense. A lot of words being twisted. There was a report being sent out that said Mark Gahey wants to move to Real Madrid. That report didn't even say that. Bayern Munich are also interested. Man City, so on and so forth. Every big club you can think of. Dylan, Liverpool kind of dropped the ball, kind of didn't. You know, it's up in the air. Maybe we could have offered a bit more and forced a hand. But, you know, Oliver Glasner did the whole, if you break up with me, I'm going to, I won't finish that, might get banned. But he kind of said, I'm leaving if you don't sell Gahey, which he has denied, which he is lying, because he's now interested in joining Manchester United, according to reports. It's a bit of a disaster, isn't it? I think if you want Mark Gahey, you have to just give them 25 million, 20 million in January, and just take the hit. Because when it gets to free agency, you're probably going to be paying him 10 million in a signing on fee as well. So I would rather just guarantee us signing him, get him this season when, look, you don't lose the Premier League in December. So if you go and get a top-class centre-back who can replace Canate, who's been rubbish, come in, start. Leone's obviously out and pretty much until the rest of the season now. So we've got one fit centre-back who's constantly fit in Virgil van Dijk. I just don't see why we would leave it up to him being a free agent, personally.
Yeah, and it feels, if the reports are to be believed, which their reports aren't, it's just kind of speculation, isn't it? But if the reports are to be believed, then they are kind of just going to rest their hats on the fact that we're just going to get through what we got. If Ibu's, if his form carries on the way it is, you're going to be like, well, what are we going to do for the rest of the season if he carries on like that? Because Joe Gomez can be good when he comes in, but the fella's made a Weetabix, as much as you want to say it. He's always injured. If he'll have 2 or 3 good games, and then we won't see him for another 3 or 4 weeks. So if he came in and you could be guaranteed he could be another option, then I could kind of see it a little bit. But like you say, with the options where Leone's gone for the season, Canate's form's been up and down so much. So I think it's one of them that you just, like you said, you have to just bite the bullet in January and go, if it's going to be 20 million, there's your 20 million. Just get as a centre half that we know will come through. You saw how he played against us the other week. It was a rock at the back for him. He had a really good game in that game, and it just kind of goes to them and goes, well, why didn't we just sign that in the summer? And then we wouldn't be in the situation we're in, where we're kind of thinking, what are we going to do if one of them gets injured or form carries on like it is for Konate? I saw a couple of other things as well about, I think, is it Upamecano? I think he's out of contract in the summer, so that potential to go in January for a pre-contract and stuff like that. So there's options out there, but if you wanted Gahey, just put your 20 million on the table in January, or 15, 20 million, and go take that and then get it done.
Yeah, I think Deck as well. It's very much. I think if the club don't sign him in January, they have to have. He has to have given the club his word that he will sign for them. Obviously, other clubs are at a massive advantage, especially clubs abroad, because he could sign a pre-contract with them. Whereas with us, he would have to wait until his contract ends. So it's. I still think Mark Gahey is probably one of the footballers left in the world who holds up his own morals. You know, he seems like, you know, questionable decisions in the past, but look, that's just what he believes. You know, it is what it is. But he seems like he's got good people around him. He's very headstrong. He doesn't let, you know, when you know, Henderson and all that were pushing him towards the crowd on the last game, you know, he very much was like, no, just let me get on with it.
Yeah.
I think the club will, if they don't sign him in January, for me, I think the club will, he will have given the club his word, and I think the club will trust him on that. Maybe he takes us for a fool, but, you know, we just have to wait, don't we?
Yeah, no, I think Mark Gahey, I think he will be a Liverpool player. I think that I feel so sorry for him because, you know, like you just mentioned about him being pushed towards the crowd, and he's just sort of just stood back clapping and stuff, that because he in his head he had played his last game for Crystal Palace, and he carried on playing through it all. He was very respectable, and if anything, that goes to show me it's the type of player that you want at the football club. I think if we don't get him in January, I think it will be nailed on for the summer for free. I think even though we can't sign a pre-contract agreement, he will have already said, yeah, come on, I want to go to Liverpool. He's already we already know he wants to come to Liverpool. I mean, there was leaks everywhere that he'd made a goodbye video and everything, you know what I mean? So he definitely, I think, will be a Liverpool player. And just to touch on the fact that, you know, to go back to talk about Liverpool for a second, our centre-back situation is absolutely in the mud. You know, we're relying on Joe Gomez, and we're relying on Endo, and, you know, Slot's already been playing Gravenberch at a centre-back, you know, towards the last few minutes of games and stuff. It's not good. Leone's out, and I think as much as you see that the Liverpool, you know, we're not going to go in January, well, it's like, we'd be silly not to, do you know what I mean? It's like, why wait until the summer and try and get him on a free, or just any centre back on a free? I think the Leone situation, and, you know, the poor form of Konate, and him not signing a contract, and, you know, if we get to January, Konate's in his last 6 months, he's gonna go for free, and all this rubbish like we've been through before with Trent, Leone being out. You know, all it takes is, and the football club will know this, Richard Hughes will know this, Arne Slot knows this. All it takes is Van Dijk, something to happen to Virgil van Dijk, and we are done for. The football club know they cannot wait until the summer to get a centre half. The poor form of Konate, you know, we've only really got Van Dijk, and the Leone situation now. Who else are you going to go and get in January? If like Dylan said, you go up to Palace, here's the money, take that. We don't wait until the summer and get him for free. I see him coming in January myself. I just do.
Yeah, I think one kind of thing that we could maybe do. I think Joe Gomez has to leave at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You know, we've had 2 summers now where he nearly joined Newcastle in the Anthony Gordon swap, and then he nearly joined AC Milan, but it was too late for AC Milan to get him a flight. And obviously Mark Gahey fell through in the end as well. Look, Arne Slot clearly thinks he can do without him, which everything backs it up, because he's had 2 fit seasons and he's been here at Liverpool for 11 years now. So look, as much as we all love Joe Gomez, it's now is the time to part ways with him. And I think signing a centre-back, especially with the Leone injury now, I think even if it's not Gahey, if the club are that confident that they have got Gahey's word, I think fine. If you want to leave Gahey late, that's, if you want to leave him until summer, that's fine. You have to sign a centre-back this summer, in my opinion. This January, sorry. It is a non-negotiable because Ibrahima Konate, I'm surprised he hasn't got injured already, and Joe Gomez will get injured if he plays more than 2 games, or unless he's magically healed his legs, which just isn't happening. So the best and smartest way with Leone now out, you just go and buy Joe Gomez's long-term replacement. You go and buy a defender who can play across the whole back 4, because if they get injured, we've got 5'6" Wataru Endo and Ryan Gravenberch. And if you take our best midfielder out of midfield, our midfield sucks. So it's, it feels like it's the 2021-22 season.
Yeah.
It's like, why are the club doing this? Have you not learnt your lesson? So
Henderson at centre half and all that.
Yeah, the Leone injury is unfortunate. It's unforeseen, but you could see it happening because maybe not with Leone, but with Konate or with Gomez. So it just seems silly not to even sign a backup centre-back, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the club knew, let's be honest. The club knew, especially, and they thought, it's right, let's see if we can try and pull off this game last minute. I don't know, we all know they should have sorted it out earlier. And we know a lot of it wasn't in their control. So I agree with you, Charlie and Dec. I think in January, if Crystal Palace give the indication that Gay's good to go, we make it just basically a no-brainer for them. You're getting 20 million now, or you're getting nothing in 6 months. If we're in that situation, we've got to do that. Do you know what I mean? And if it's not Gay, we do have to bring someone else in because, Konate could be going in the summer. With everything up in the air as well, it causes more speculation, it causes a circus. You know what I mean? So I also think this article of Liverpool on signing no centre backs might also just be Liverpool bringing down expectations a little bit, just in case we do go in for Gay in January. So there's not all clubs lining up for him there. They're all thinking, we can try him in the summer. You know what I mean? So it might be a bit of a okay, let's say that we're going in for no one, so that in January we've got a free run at a player. Because if we start going, right, we're bringing in Gay in January, you've got Real Madrid standing there going, 25 million, what's that? You know what I mean? And then the price ends up more than it was in the summer. So it's just, it's one of them. And the centre-back issue, it is scary. And I think we've just got to play this season and then get to half-time. Half-time's January. It feels like every game this season, it's been get to half-time, make changes. And I feel like we're playing the season like that as well.
Get to January.
Yeah, exactly. Get to January, sort ourselves out. Hopefully we'll have some players. We've got a fit squad, but we've got 3 senior centre-backs and Joe Gomez. And I'm one of Joe Gomez's biggest fan, but against Southampton the other day as well, the other week, he didn't look like a senior player.
Mate,
out of all the
shocking.
Exactly,
so
and it's disappointing because you think in a game like that, when there's loads of younger players, when it's a mixed match squad, he's been at the club for 10 years. If you put your money on someone to step up and look like the senior player, it'd be him. And it just wasn't. And it's just that inconsistency and that distrust that Slot's got with him, and the fact that he's made a Weetabix is more enough reason for us to make sure we get at least a body in. It just has to be another person in the pecking order to go. They're a centre-back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even the circus of Liverpool haven't got any centre-backs, it causes a psychological effect. So even just having someone there who's centre-back, you go, okay, well, that's an issue kind of issued. And I'm out there.
What seems to have been a terrible mistake, which I never thought this, was selling Nat Phillips. I thought 3 million stick. But mate, there's not many games Nat Phillips has had a bad game for Liverpool. And in this situation, I think I would probably prefer him over Joe Gomez, if I'm going to be honest. So, he's doing well at West Brom, but...
Can we buy Kwanzaa back in January, or...
Yeah, that was a big mistake in my opinion, to be honest.
I said before we even sold Gerrard Kwanzaa, we needed we needed centre back reinforcements. When Quansah went, I said, sorry to interrupt, lads. By the way, I said we needed 2 centre halves regardless. So Leone, Marque, the club should have sorted that Gay situation out weeks before we got to the end of the window. So, you know, it is what it is. Like I said before, coulda, woulda, shoulda type of thing. But we have to get a centre half in January. We have to. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, really quickly, we're gonna run over, lads. Sorry, but I have to talk about Mohamed Salah. Now, I'm gonna criticize him. I will play devil's advocate. He's actually scored 2 today against Djibouti, two pretty good goals to be fair. Obviously the players of Djibouti, I don't know what league they're in. I'm assuming not very good leagues. But is he becoming a problem? Now I use the word problem very broadly because I think Dylan, he is part of a problem that we have with Salah. Salah is part of the Salah problem, which obviously makes sense. But that Salah problem doesn't just have Salah in there. It has Arne Slot in there. It has whoever's playing right back in there. And it has multiple other players who join Liverpool to be star players. Now, at the end of the day, whilst Mohamed Salah is at Liverpool Football Club, he is our star player in attack. I don't care who Alexander Isak is. I don't care how much we sign him for. I don't care Florian Wirtz and how much we signed him for. Mohamed Salah has just come off one of the best Premier League seasons ever. And Arne Slot has now decided, I'm going to put him on the touchline and play him as a winger. That, to me, is insanity as a footballing coach. Now, Arne Slot in that sense can be criticised because there's just bad tactical management, which I never didn't think I would say after last year. But Mohamed Salah needs to be in the centre of the pitch, picking the football up. He is not doing that now. Now, one question I'm going to ask as well is maybe this, Arne Slot saying, listen, Salah doesn't fit my system. I worked around him last year. I want my own players now. Like, Mohamed Salah doesn't fit into that. Again, maybe tactical naivety or just, managerial naivety. There's a lot of moving parts in this, so I'm trying to make sense of it in my own head as well. But at the same time, Mohamed Salah's quality, Dylan, hasn't been good enough as even just as himself. Take away all the tactical stuff of him playing maybe more wide. His link-up play has not been what it was last year. There's been multiple times where Florian Wirtz was as free as a bird and he didn't pass. And now we know Salah's been selfish in the past, but one of the things he was massively praised for last season was creating chances, was not being as selfish. It is maybe he just struggling because he's not getting the goals. Maybe he wants to be more selfish. He thinks maybe a goal will give him his confidence back, but it's coming at a detriment to the team at the end of the day. And that's my biggest worry, Dylan, with Mohamed Salah. I'm not sure about you.
Yeah, I think you've touched on it with a couple of things there. There's multiple factors in it, really, that you have to consider in everything around what's happening within this season. I think, like you touched on with the Chelsea game in particular, it felt like he was almost trying to force something to get back into form, to kind of take on too many shots where he did have options and he just kind of kept cutting inside instead, trying the same thing a couple of times. And other games, a couple of things just haven't come off for him. But what I would say is the change in system where we haven't had potentially a consistent right back there, that he's had to change about what he's going to do because Frimpong's going to overlap, Bradley's kind of underlap. Dominic Szoboszlai's going to step into midfield. So each time he's having to do kind of almost something a little bit different with each one of them that's had to step in there. He's also kind of getting used to playing with other people in front of him. When you think of the amount of changes he's gone through the Bobby and the Mane one. He's gone through Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez up front and everything like that. So he's been through the changes all the way through. So he's had to adapt to other people, and I think it's going to be part of the process with this. With Wirtz playing in particular as well, when you look at the type of role he's going to be within the team, we haven't really had that natural number 10 since like a Coutinho type of person. It's been more of a dynamic front three. So there's loads of kind of factors as to why he's potentially having to change up his game this season. and why potentially the numbers haven't come off. But Mohamed Salah is still Mohamed Salah to me. He's going to be your star player. He's going to be the person that eventually has one good game that could click for the next 10 games, and you just don't know what's going to happen in terms of the numbers he could get. So fingers crossed for us. He loves a goal against United, so fingers crossed it's getting back into the team against United, get him straight back into scoring, and hopefully he can kick on from there again. But never be a problem, I don't think, for me in where he's starting. But I get the chat around it where he's having a few off games and he hasn't really looked himself for 5-6 games.
Dec, how much of this falls on Arne Slot? Because one kind of look, we cannot underplay the fact as well. I saw a tweet saying Liverpool, it was a criticism against the media saying Liverpool are in transition, and then he proceeded to name 6 starting new players and say Liverpool aren't in transition. Liverpool are in transition. Yes, we won the league. Yes, the players we signed should also mean we are favourite to win the league. However, they can still be facts and us still be in transition. We've got 2 new fullbacks. We've got essentially 2 new starting forwards. We've got Vert in midfield. There's at least 5 new players on the pitch every single game. And we're trying, and they're so different to what we had. We no longer have a Luis Diaz-esque type. We no longer have, we have a 2 world-class strikers, arguably. But there is, again, I'm not a UEFA licensed coach, but just looking at football games, which I've been doing multiple times a week for my entire life, against Crystal Palace, there was times we had 5 football players in about a 5-yard space on the right-hand side by Mohamed Salah. We had, I believe it was Bradley at right back, might have been Frimpong, who was essentially on the corner flag. We had Mohamed Salah. Florian Wirtz was out there for some reason. Dominic Szoboszlai was also out there, and McAllister was also roaming in. And if you give the ball to Mohamed Salah, what's he meant to do? He's got 5 Liverpool players around him. He thrives on defenders fearing what he's going to do because he can take you on and he can cut inside, and within the space of a second, it's in the top corner, and he can pick out an amazing pass, with a Trivela pass out of nothing. But at the moment, it feels like the way Arne Slot's system is lining up is affecting how Salah's game plays. And as we said before, you play to your best player, and our best player is Mohamed Salah.
I agree. I think it is Arne Slot. I just think
Dec's Arne Slot out.
Nah. Don't get me started on that. That's a load of rubbish, that. But sorry, anyone who says Arne Slot out, it's just an absolute criminal. But I think it is down to Slot. I think this has been a bit of a wake-up call, really. I think we've tried different things. I think Arne Slot doesn't probably know his best team, if we're being honest.
Which is fair.
Yeah, it's crazy because we've had the best window ever, but this is what happens, unfortunately. But I think Arne Slot doesn't probably know his best team. I think the game. If you look at the games that we lost, you can argue should we have had a penalty, here and there, whatnot. But it is what it is. I think it is down to Slot. I think the last few games he's tried different things and they haven't paid off. And I'm happy that we've got an international break for Slot more than anyone. Sort of just to be like, right, let me figure this out, because this after winning the league and stuff, I've got reputation on the line here. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to put it all on Mo Salah. Mo Salah is probably, if not for me, the best Liverpool player I've ever witnessed play for the football club, regardless of the likes of your Gerrards and your Suarez's and your top goal scorer. It doesn't matter for me. All in all, overall package, Mo Salah is my greatest Liverpool player that I've ever watched play football. And I don't think it's fair to just go, well, Salah's shit. You know what I mean? Get him off, drop him. Doesn't work like that. Mo Salah plays every game for me. Now, if he is playing poorly, then that's where, if he's having a bad game, should we say quote unquote bad game, God forbid he doesn't get an assist or score a goal. But if he's having a bad game, that is where it's down to Slot to come in and go, right, okay, and you make them tactical changes. So for me, it is on Arne Slot, and I think he'll turn it around. I don't think we're gonna get to like a Ruben Amorim stage where it's like, I'm not changing my system and like we're just shit. I don't think it's gonna get like that. I think he's tried a few things. It hasn't worked out. It's happened early enough now. You get over it. and you go from there. We come back and we beat United because we're at Anfield and we can't lose to that United side. It can't happen. So, you know, we have to come back out and we have to win and we have to get the ball rolling from there, really.
Yeah, I think what kind of just really quickly to touch on your point about Arne Slot and the tactics. I think as well, it's such a polar opposite of last season, because last season we were so bad in first halves for like the first half of the season, and we went in at half time and Slot consistently changed the system, and we went on and won games
2 or 3 times a game during the game. 60 minutes in, he's changing it.
Yeah, whereas now it feels it's maybe a bit more backwards, and we're starting the games better and just not scoring, and then it's almost like the changes that need. I mean, how many times has he made a substitute in a half time? It feels like it's nearly every single game, but yeah, look, I think the fullbacks are a massive issue. I think that needs addressing, but I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. But we've kind of finishing on Mo Salah there. One thing I did want to mention that is really griping me, and we kind of said, obviously Arne Slot maybe is the main reason to an extent why Salah isn't playing as well as he is. But one thing I don't think you can forgive is sheer lack of effort defensively. Now, Mohamed Salah has never been someone to come back and defend all the time. He does help out, but the one thing I consistently see is the opposition team are targeting our right hand side, and our right backs aren't great defensively on their own, but it also pulls Ryan Gravenberch out of midfield. So you then open the space up in the middle, and teams can just pass around us because Mohamed Salah is just standing up there. And, maybe that's fine when Ekitike is playing, because Ekitike is maybe going to drop a bit more. But I just don't see when Isaac's playing up there how you can justify them both just standing around doing nothing. Again, that obviously falls to an Arne Slot kind of thing to say, okay, this is happening. It can't keep happening, because it's an issue, and it's as clear as day, because teams keep on attacking our right-hand side. That's not a coincidence, but from a personal point, I'm not happy with Salah's kind of effort, especially when it's such a glaring issue and it is being targeted. I think he should get his head up and think, no, what, they're targeting our right-hand side here. Let me help out for a bit.
I also think I agree with what you're saying about Salah getting back. Like we all know, he's a luxury player, but I also think it is a system issue, because it's knowing where these players are going to be. Even defensively, with Trent, sometimes we probably overcompensate on that right-hand side defensively more than we have been now, just because we know we've got Trent there. So it's just like even little tweaks of the team and little personnel changes can affect it. And Salah's probably thought, and to be honest, he's probably thought in his head, oh, Trent's not there now, I might have to do that. Even if it's a subconscious thought, these things in like high-pressure moments, they matter, you know what I mean? So it's like, even if he's went out, it's not Trent, there's not a big gaping hole there. It's only one-on-one, where sometimes it's just one versus no one because he's on the other side. You know what I mean? So I do think it's a system issue, and I'm not too worried about Salah, and I don't blame Slot completely, because I think this whole summer right now that's just happened was a preparing for after Salah window. We're replacing his goals, replacing his output. So I think this window that we've just had was preparing for life after Salah. So I can see why he would have issues right now, because look, people are taking, and Slot asking him to play on the wing like he was playing for Klopp in his first season. You know what I mean? For the first couple of games, and he hasn't played like that in a couple of seasons. So it's different, and I don't want to go on Salah too much, but I think it's his last. I think he'll leave on a free at the end of his contract. I just think that's the nice crescendo. I don't think we'll cash in. I think his role will change in the squad. I think his role could be the same as it has been for the last 2 seasons, because he could carry on. But I think regardless of how he performs right now, goals and output wise, I think he'll leave in 2 years' time.
Yeah, to be fair, I genuinely think we could see him leave next season, at the end of the season.
I think, to be fair, Charlie, I think he's gone in the summer.
I kind of, my thinking is especially if things don't turn round, I don't think Mo Salah wants to leave on a super low. Like, I think
Yeah.
if let's say we don't defend the league and we don't win anything, and he's just, he just hasn't contributed as much as maybe he thinks. I think he might say, no, I'm not going to have another year here of holding the club back, which is not the best thing to say, but he knows himself. He's not getting any younger. He knows that he has had to change his game around. So I think he might say to the club, listen, can you just let me leave for free? I'll, cancel my contract or whatever. Because obviously he's on 400 grand a week, and I think the club themselves, you obviously don't want to cash in on him as well. But if you get 50 million from Saudi, you can't say no to that either, can you? So it's like Saudi's kind of changed the game on my opinion, of letting players leave for free, even when they are a bit poor, because you can realistically get 30-40 million for people like that. So, but we'll see. Listen, I'm not giving up on Salah by any means, and I don't think any proper Liverpool fan is. But at the same time, criticism needs to be said, because, at the end of the day, not just him, but many aspects of this Liverpool team from the start of the season have been poor. So, look, it is what it is. I think we'll turn it round.
Come on. Man United are getting smoked.
Here we are.
Don't worry, we've got the amazing international.
Please, we're at Anfield. We've got to do it. Like,
I know. We've got an amazing international football to look forward to. We've
world
got
class.
Wales versus England, so I'm sure we'll all be watching that with keen eyes. But yeah,
I didn't even know that was the fixture.
Yeah. I know. I didn't even know, mate.
It feels weird, Liverpool not having any players in like an England team either, which I'm not against, but it's like there's nothing to even like. Sometimes I might put the England game on just to see a Liverpool player, but now
Can't even Trent hate watch now because he's on the squad.
He's not even. I know. So
can't even get excited about Gerrard Kwanzaa anymore.
I know. Yeah. But anyway, Dylan, Reeve, Dech, thank you very much for joining us today. Again, guys, if you were with us on social media, on YouTube or on Twitter or Facebook, make sure you come over to the YouTube. That's the main place. Leave a subscribe, leave a like on the video. It helps the channel grow. But yeah, so I've been Charlie. This has been the Anything Liverpool YouTube channel. And